Before there were world tours, fashion empires, and Grammys lined up like trophies in a museum, there were two teenage girls in Houston who just wanted to sing. Beyoncé and LeToya weren't industry names back then. They were just friends, real friends, the kind who laughed together during sleepovers, cried during tough rehearsals, and held hands during prayer before every performance. They started young, too young to understand contracts, managers, or royalties, but old enough to know they had something special. Girls' Time was their starting point, but their bond went beyond any stage. For Beyoncé, LeToya wasn't just a bandmate, she was family. Tina Knowles dressed them in matching outfits, cooked for them, protected them like they were her own. And for a while, everything felt like a dream in the making. But dreams in the music industry often come with a price, and sometimes that price is paid in silence. Destiny's Child wasn't built in a day. It was the product of years of training, auditions, and shifting members. But when the group finally solidified into Beyoncé, Kelly, Latavia, and LeToya, it just clicked. Their harmonies, their image, their energy, they were powerful, and the world felt it. What the world didn't see, though, was the structure behind the stage. Matthew Knowles wasn't just a proud father. He was a businessman, and Destiny's Child was his product. He managed the girls with the precision of a CEO managing a startup. Beyoncé was his daughter. Kelly had lived with them for years. The dynamic was already uneven, not in love, but in access. And as the group began to climb, that imbalance grew deeper. At first, it was whispers, little things. LeToya and Latavia noticed disparities in how decisions were made. Their names weren't on certain documents. Money wasn't being distributed evenly. Rehearsals were being called without notice. Management meetings happened without them. And when they asked questions, the room got cold. They weren't being difficult. They were being smart. But in this business, a smart woman, especially a young Black woman, is often labeled as a threat. The cracks started to show during the peak of their success. Fans were obsessed with the group. They were winning awards, topping charts, and showing up everywhere. But behind closed doors, something was shifting. Beyoncé, once the quiet and focused leader, became more distant. Kelly stayed neutral. And LeToya and Latavia started to feel like guests in a house they helped build. Then came the betrayal. When the Say My Name video dropped in early 2000, fans were excited. A new single, new visuals, but something was off. Two of the members weren't familiar. LeToya and Latavia were gone. Just like that. No announcement, no farewell, no thank you. They'd been replaced, and they didn't even know it. That's the part most people don't understand. They found out with the rest of us. Watching BET MTV, their faces were gone, erased from a history they had helped create, and in their place stood Michelle Williams and Farrah Franklin. Talented, yes, but strangers to the fans who'd grown attached to the original four. Can you imagine that? Being part of something since childhood, building it from the ground up, only to be replaced without a single call, a single explanation? Beyoncé never addressed it publicly. Neither did Kelly. Matthew, of course, pushed forward. The show went on, and the machine didn't just move, it accelerated. For LeToya, the silence was louder than any insult. She didn't just lose a group, she lost a family. Beyoncé had been her sister in everything but blood. They had trained side by side, dreamed side by side, shared clothes, secrets, and stage lights. And now, nothing. No call, no explanation. Just a new music video with her face wiped clean like she was never there. The betrayal didn't come with screaming or fighting. It came with silence, strategic, cold, and corporate. A silence that cut deeper than any public feud ever could. LeToya wasn't naive. She knew the music business was ruthless, But nothing prepares you for being erased by the people you loved, the people you trusted, the people you called your own. In interviews, she tried to stay composed. She didn't drag Beyoncé's name through the mud. She didn't throw dirt on Destiny's Child. But behind the scenes, she was grieving. Grieving the friendship, grieving the dream, grieving her place in a legacy that had moved on without her. And the world? The world didn't make it easier. The headlines painted her as bitter, ungrateful, difficult. Nobody wanted to hear her side. She was cast as the problem, the one who didn't fit. Fans, blinded by the Destiny's Child success train, dismissed her as a footnote. And Beyoncé? She never corrected the narrative, not publicly, not privately, not once. LeToya wasn't just fighting to heal, she was fighting to be heard. Meanwhile, Destiny's Child thrived. Survivor became a global anthem. The irony wasn't lost on LeToya or LaTavia, a song about surviving, sung by the same women who had cut them out without mercy. As the group climbed, Beyoncé's solo star began to rise. The machine shifted into overdrive. Matthew Knowles wasn't building a group anymore. He was crafting a legend. Every photo, every interview, every performance was curated to elevate Beyoncé above the pack, and it worked. She became untouchable, polished, poised, powerful, and in the process, she left behind a trail of unanswered questions. Because for all her talent and ambition, Beyoncé has always protected the brand. And sometimes, protecting the brand means never looking back. But for LeToya, the past didn't vanish so easily. She took a break from music. She needed space to breathe, to figure out who she was without Destiny's Child attached to her name. While Beyoncé was performing for millions, LeToya was trying to rebuild, privately, quietly. And then, in 2006, she returned. Her debut solo album dropped, and with it, the lead single, Torn. It wasn't just a breakup song. It was her story, the pain, the confusion, the feeling of being pulled between who you were and who you're trying to become. It resonated. People connected, not because it was flashy, but because it was real. LeToya's voice was raw, unpolished, but sincere, and fans, many of whom had forgotten her name, started to listen again. She wasn't just the girl who got kicked out. She was an artist, a woman who had endured something most people would have crumbled under. But even in success, the shadow of Destiny's Child followed her everywhere. Every interview circled back to Beyoncé. Every review brought up the past. Every step forward came with a reminder of what she'd lost. And no matter how far she moved, she was always described as former Destiny's Child member LeToya Luckett, as if her story started and ended in 2000. There were moments of public grace, polite hugs at award shows, smiles for the cameras. But for those watching closely, it was obvious. The bond was gone. The warmth, the closeness, the sisterhood, all gone. Sometimes the deepest cuts don't bleed out loud. They stay under the surface, forever present in the silence between two people who used to be everything to each other. As Beyoncé rose into the stratosphere, untouchable and godlike, LeToya took a quieter road. She moved into acting, embraced her faith, built a family. Her name was no longer flashing across every headline, but in many ways, she had found something even more precious: peace. But the shadow of Destiny's Child never really left. Every red carpet moment, every interview, every fan comment online. Somehow, some way, the past always resurfaced. It didn't matter how far she'd come. The world kept dragging her back to 2000, to that music video, to that silence. Beyoncé, for her part, never changed course. She became an empire. With every album, every tour, every project, she elevated her legacy. She never spoke LeToya's name. Not out of hatred, perhaps, but out of necessity. The Beyoncé brand doesn't revisit old wounds. It controls the narrative, curates the memory, and protects the illusion. And maybe that's what hurt the most. Because LeToya never asked for a public apology. She never wanted to be written into Beyoncé's biography. What she wanted, what she deserved, was a moment, a call, a look, a hey, I'm sorry we lost each other. But the moment never came. Instead, fans were fed manufactured smiles and forced hugs during award shows. That BT Awards reunion, where the original members posed together, it felt more like PR than peace. Their bodies stood close, but their eyes told a different story. The warmth was gone, the history between them, erased under a layer of polite professionalism. And the tragedy is, it didn't have to be that way. LeToya once said in an interview, "We've all grown. We've all healed in our own ways, but I'm not going to pretend that everything's back to what it was." She didn't say it with bitterness, just honesty. She could have written tell-alls. She could have aired the dirty laundry, but she didn't. And that silence, her silence, is the most graceful act of strength. Because sometimes walking away without revenge is the loudest way to reclaim your story. So, where are they now? Beyoncé is a mother, a mogul, a legend. Her silence remains intact. Her story controlled. Her circle impenetrable. LeToya is a mother, an actress, a woman who survived something the world still doesn't fully understand. And maybe she doesn't want to explain it anymore. Maybe she doesn't need to, because some chapters are meant to close without a final sentence. Some friendships break not with a scream, but with a door that quietly shuts and never reopens. So, what do you think? Was LeToya truly pushed out for questioning the system, or was she sacrificed to protect the brand? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.